All right, friends and neighbors, welcome back to the show. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue, and we have a huge, enormous show tonight. I have the headphones on because Dan Harms may be able to join me later so that we can have a little bit more discussion, but I wanted to make sure that I left it on just in case he joins so I can hear him. Hopefully it'll be better than last week because this is epic. This is the biggest thing Kansas City has gotten done in quite a long time. It was the focus of their offseason, and clearly is what they felt they had to get done first and very foremost. I'm not sure if Aaron Morrow's going to make it tonight. He is working on it, but we're going to forge on without him. Make sure, if you are new to the chat, first and foremost, leave question marks before your question because it helps me pick them out of the chat room. But make sure you get subbed. Make sure that you hit the bell notification so you know when something comes out. We do this on a schedule. The Q&As are always Monday nights, not just when Patrick Mahomes signs a $500 million contract, but we try. And then you get film review in the midweek. You get player eval later in the week, and that's the way that we're staging it. And we're going to continue to do that. Looks like there's plenty of folks on. It's nice to see all the names. I see a ton of you that I recognize. If you want to support the channel, the super chats are open. That's the best way to help us out. It's the easiest way anyway. The best way is to hit the Teespring store that's in the show notes, and you can find that at RGR Football at Teespring and buy the shirts or whatever. That always helps us too. But if you do a super chat tonight or a super sticker, ask a question, please. Make sure I get you something for it right now tonight. The glasses are on because I've been reading spreadsheets since the news broke. Luckily, work was nice enough to let me get ahead on a number of things, so I was able to do this tonight. So we're going to start with, before we even get into the questions, I just want to read you guys a couple of things that are significant from the press release. And what I will do is go over and share it a little bit. And I have to allow that. Okay. And we're just going to put that up. Hopefully y'all can see this. I'll maximize it here. Hopefully that'll make it not too hard to read. This is the press release that the Chiefs sent out. And the big thing here is Clark Hunt obviously had some good things to say. But this is the key, that it's been such quick turnaround. Quote, Patrick has developed into one of the most prolific athletes in all of sports. With his dynamic play and infectious personality, he's one of the most recognized and beloved figures to put on a Chiefs uniform. That's significant. And I said on the Locked On Chiefs podcast, which has been available, I got it up early a little bit. So if you haven't heard it yet, go listen to it afterwards because I went into the details kind of on the timeline as all the news came out. And that's really what it is. I mean, he's up there. This contract makes him able to say all the things that Len Dawson can say. Len Dawson played 183 games for the Chiefs in 14 seasons. Patrick Mahomes can do that now. That's in the cards. Before I go any further, I just want to say a shout out to everybody over at Boulevard who makes my holidays happy and makes this for me. So cheers. Tank 7 is the beer tonight. I know some of you like to drink along. That said, from Brett Veach. It's been a priority for us for a while. I'm just going to paraphrase here. I'm not going to read it quote for quote because I'm not that great at reading live, but you guys know that. But everybody, including Clark Hunt, Mark Donovan, Coach Reed, have been supportive as we work through the details. And there are a lot of details. This is a complex deal, and we're still getting bits and pieces of it. And we probably will for another day or two. And I will go over what I know here in a bit. And I know you guys have questions. But I wanted to get through this part. Patrick is one of the most impressive players I've ever scouted. This is from Veach. And I don't think anyone could have envisioned everything he's brought to our football team and community. His abilities are so rare. And to couple that with incredible personality is outstanding. Okay, it's a little bit of flowery, but that's what the key is he's so unique. To be able to get a back-breaking, league-breaking, honestly, yes, there are a couple of, I think, boxers that have broken this, but I mean, even in a major league-type situation, this is the biggest deal ever in North America. To do that 3 seasons into your career, that's just incredible. And I don't know that you can say that you saw that coming. So there's the top of it. I guess you guys don't need to see my conversations with Dan, and we will eventually get back to some of this. I will pull up later because there's a couple of significant points that came out earlier. And I'll switch it back here. I'll show some of this later. Still playing with this new site, guys. And the highlight is what we've seen. And so we'll get into the questions. Looks like there's a super chat already. Thank you, whoever it was. I'll keep scrolling down until I find you. Guys, I'm looking for question marks. So if you already had one, come back. First one that I see is the dude. Seeing past the hype of like locking down Mahomes, does this deal cripple us down the road for signing talent around us and maintaining Hill and Kelsey? I'm worried it will become like the Packers. And that's a significant worry. You are right to think that. And that's honestly what I was doing. And just within the last, I finished the podcast about 90 minutes ago and got it posted. So I didn't have all the information, but just about 45 minutes ago, we got a spreadsheet from Tom Pelissaro who's gone through the numbers. He has access to that. And then Jason over at Over the Cap actually put them into his spreadsheet. This is rough, but I'm going to show you guys this right here. Let me maximize that so you guys don't have to look at all the stuff that I always look at. But here's the deal, and this goes directly to your question, dude. Look at his cap numbers. It's $5 million in this coming season. He was going to be 2.7. So, I mean, yes, it's gone up, but not drastically. Then 24 and 31 in 2021 and 2022. He doesn't go over 40, which is less than his average still until 2023, which means as long as there's this next season's going to be a massacre. We don't know what 2020 is going to be because we don't know about revenue. Assuming there's going to be a big step back, but after that, you should expect it to continue to go up. So this is really manageable. And even at 42, we're talking 17%. There were people talking 2 weeks ago, 22% of the cap. And that's an interesting thing that we'll have to get in later. I'm sure there's questions about the percent thing, but then continue to look at it because this is the first year, 2023, when he actually goes over the number. I'm sorry, right here. That Russ Wilson makes. That's the significance, is not only did he beat the average per year, but he kept his cap number down. They were able to structure it in a way that if these numbers are correct, and that's what we have to go on right now, that this should allow them to continue to sign talent. Hill, Kelsey. I know we have this Chris Jones things right now. I'm not sure how that affects it because I think there's some animosity now. But beyond that, the next guy, McCole Hardman, when he comes back up, extending Tyron, maybe trading for somebody. Yes, this does put more pressure on having to draft well, but we've been pretty good with what they've drafted, right? I mean, we should be. So that's kind of the way that it looks right now. So hope that answered it, dude. I will move on to some of the others, folks. Again, remember, hit the question marks ahead of time so I can see him until Aaron joins, if he joins. And Dan's going to come in here in just a second. Let me get this one, and then I'll grab him in. Old Dan's here. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Hanging in. We are going through questions in the comparison of the contracts. So, AC asks, with Mahomes getting close to a fully guaranteed contract, how much of this goes towards the cap per year? And that's what this is showing you. And it's not necessarily guaranteed. What we're seeing is that it's a rolling guarantee. They have to pick up 1 year, and then it guarantees the next. It's a really interesting structure. We're going to hear a lot more detail about it as it comes out in the next few days. But Dan, just hitting on the cap hits, what's your initial impression? Have you seen the numbers?
I haven't seen all of them. I'm looking through them right now, and what it makes me most excited is that we're looking at kind of that backloaded contract that I kind of assumed after hearing the 10-year number allows them to really give them some flexibility in the first 4 or 5 years of this contract that can possibly have them sign some guys that are going to be vital to the future. So ideally, this is what more than I could have wished for when I was looking for a Mahomes contract. And I think if you do the whole averaging out process, it's like somewhere around 39 or 41 million per year on average for the 12 years that he's going to be left. So that's all and more I could have wished for in this contract.
Yeah. I was pretty close. If you just look at the extension years, it's 45, but I was thinking like 42. But hey, I'll take 39 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's 41.
The thing that stands out to me, guys, is 2026.
Yeah.
This is a 60 or a $50 million bonus that takes his cap number up to 60 mil. That ain't happening.
No.
This is going to get torn in two, and they're going to give him, I think I said it on Twitter, a shiny new extension in 2026
to make sure he plays here the rest of his career.
Exactly. It will do basically exactly what this did. It will give him longevity, but reduce his cap numbers so they still have room to maneuver. That's exactly what it's about, AC. I'm getting text from. Oh, and we're going to have more details come out here in the next hour or two, folks. Somebody with some information just texted me to be on the lookout. So stay on Twitter when I'm done with the show. Anything I find out will be on Twitter. Tristan asks, with Mahomes' new deal, does Chris Jones get a long-term deal with the Chiefs? If not, what's his trade value? So, Dan, what's your thought? Does this help him get a deal?
I think that if the Chiefs want to sign Chris Jones, like they've been saying that they want to sign him long term, and if we look at it from now, long term is probably the next 3 to 4 years. They'd have that wiggle room now. They have that option to now sign him, at least try to front load some of that contract for this coming year. Everything that they've done leads me to believe that they don't necessarily value him in that aspect, at least the $20 million. So I think that now we're going to be able to see some of the negotiation process start. And that was something that they made very apparent that they wanted to do, get that Mahomes contract done first, then everything else follow after. So I think that in the next couple weeks, actually, if they want to get a contract done, then they got to do that. I think that the July 15th is there, yeah. Or is that, so they got to start like now. So if they want to do it this year, then they need to get it done within the next 10 days, I would say. So it's going to be fast and full if they do get it done.
It will be. And I actually think, I don't think it was necessarily about the cap room. I think they still have a couple of things that they can do. I have to look. We haven't got an update on what the cap number looks like now, folks. Yeah. The NFLPA will get us as close to official as possible. But Jason at OTC and the guys at Spot Track will have that up within the next day or so, and we'll have a rougher idea. I don't think that this makes enough room to sign Chris right now unless he does what Patrick did here look at this base salary here of $825, which is, I think Frank's year one was $850. This is what the Chiefs do. They want that first year to get a guy on board, and they'll figure the rest out as it goes down the line. I think that's a great way to do it, but we've come to the point where I'm not sure Chris Jones is truly willing to sign anything less than 20, and I don't know the Chiefs, even after having some room, want to give him 20. So there is some trade value to be had out there. You guys saw the video from a couple weeks ago. I still think that if you're going to trade a disgruntled player, maybe another disgruntled player is the way to go in Jamal Adams. He said this is one of the places he'd like to play. I think that future-proofs you against the league making any more changes that emphasize and allow the pass game to flourish any farther. And again, it's another payday, but the franchise tag number for a safety is a lot lower than what we're talking about here. Yep. And Jamal can ask for $20 million all he wants. He's not going to get that. No safety is. So in the long term, it would be a cheaper option. So I'm just saying. Agreed. Besides that, I think Chris Jones on the open market is probably worth a second at this point. I don't think, especially this year, with the questions about COVID, I don't think anybody's giving up a first-round pick for Chris Jones. Do you?
No, I think that if ideally they would like to have him probably play on the tag this year and then evaluate that trade asset next year just to have some continuity with what they could be getting. And it makes sense on both sides. And I get Chris is going to want his money. He just well-deserved of that money. But you got to know that the Chiefs aren't going to trade him unless they can get max value for him. And I don't think that's until next year.
I think you're probably right there. Let's see what Tyler had to say. Oh, clicked it too many times. Will NFL contracts change because of this deal? I don't necessarily think so. Maybe slightly, in that people are seeing how you can maneuver bonuses as a way to keep your cap numbers down. That may become something that gets adopted, but this isn't the percent deal that a lot of people were looking for. I told you guys last week, I didn't think that could actually work. That may still hang out there for somebody else. The Kirk Cousins deal was fully guaranteed, right? Yeah. I don't see that becoming this either because, I mean, Deshaun Watson's no Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to get up there into what was the top 5. So we're talking 30 million plus on average, right? I don't think that's ever going to be fully guaranteed. I mean, the NFL wants to do everything it can to not fully guarantee anything. This is not baseball.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. And I think that it's funny because I actually got a chance to listen to some of the Times Ours podcast when it first came out. Nate Taylor was talking about, he thinks that, how every other year there's a new highest paid player. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the highest paid player for the next like 4 or 5 years. Like you don't get this kind of a contract unless you're a game-changing talent, and Patrick Mahomes is that generational game-changing talent. They don't really have that tier of quarterback underneath him, so it's probably just going to stay this way, and then he will again reset that bar.
And for those of you in Chicago, you don't have to worry about Trubisky demanding this kind of money. It's okay.
They just saved a bunch of money.
Dude, you have a good question here. If we do not have a season, is that year Mahomes and everyone else's contract fully paid without even playing a snap? That's the big question. If they cancel the season, there's going to be a discussion between the NFLPA and the league. I don't know if it's going to be some kind of proration, if they just reset the year. I honestly can't tell you until we start hearing what they think. Mr. Porter, how are you, bud? Hi, Cheryl. How are you? She's a Packers fan. Is a Chiefs-Packers Super Bowl this season, who would win? Right now, given that the Packers won the regular season but didn't make it to the Super Bowl last year, and the Chiefs returning 22 starters, I'm going Chiefs. Sorry, Cheryl. But I'm happy for you. And Jeff, I need to catch up with you. I will do that soon. Let's see who's next, guys. Hit the question marks at the beginning. We don't have Aaron tonight, so I'm struggling on my own. You guys know how that goes. It's like typing on Twitter. Dan, don't make fun of me.
I wasn't. I was just laughing.
Whatever. Jacob Callahan, does signing Mahomes mean that we'll be able to sign Chris Jones? We talked kind of about that, but flat out yes or no. I don't think this contract does anything to make that happen more than the fact that now they can concentrate on it. They wanted Patrick Steele done, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. They want to get it done, and that just now it's out of the way, so they can at least focus a little bit more on that.
Yeah. All right, Testicular. It's your first question of the night. I was waiting for you. The Seattle defense, 14, 16, 19 Niners. Okay, fails in the end because it relies too much on pressure. The front four get tired by the fourth. True. All 10-point fourth quarter leads in the Super Bowl blown. That's part of it. I won't say that that's all of it, though, because at that point, it's about attrition, who was hurt, who you didn't have, how was your rotation. But at the end of the day, if teams are going to emphasize coverage, you got to play good coverage. And you can't have both anymore, it seems. And PFF does a big string on, is it coverage or pass rush that's more important? And I still think that it's both, but I do feel it's probably 60-40 in favor of coverage these days because of the rules and because offenses have adjusted. The average last year fell another 1/10 of a point to like 2.46 seconds. The average pass is away. I think that makes a big difference, Dan. Do you?
Yeah, but I think these last two, the 2016 Falcons and the 2019 Niners, also have a lot of offensive play calling to take into account for this. And I know that if we look at the 49ers defense this past year, they didn't adjust at all. They called a lot of the exact same coverages, and eventually a play caller like Andy Reid is going to figure you out. And even if you have great players that can make those plays, he's gonna be able to dissect what you're doing and get that wrong and get that right. So, and then you figure, Atlanta started to reel a little bit when the Patriots came back. The 49ers did a little bit too when Patrick Mahomes finally got his footing in that game in the fourth quarter. So I think that unfortunately Shanahan was a part of both of those two downfalls. So you can you can kind of give him a little bit of the blame there, but I would put a little bit more on the defensive coordinator to the 49ers from this past year, just from not adjusting, which is ridiculous. So I think you have a lot of offensive problems that could have solved. If you just keep your foot on the gas, if you're the Falcons and the 49ers, you probably are pretty okay winning both of those games.
And that's fair. And again, not making the defense be the hero. I think that goes a long way. Let's see. Sean, does the mega deal mean for the Chiefs in the long run? It means at least until 2026, you've got the biggest worry out of your hair, basically. You have your quarterback. You know where you're going. It's about building the bits and pieces. They're going to let some of the older guys retire. What I just highlighted here in the background, I'm going to pull back up because I didn't mean to get rid of that. Sorry. This is the Chiefs' projected cap right now with a small update at OTC, $6 million. This was 6.4 the other day when I looked. So this is a little bit different. And the NFLPA number is the closest thing to official. We'll get that update in a couple of days. But then you look at 2021, and even with these numbers, we're still looking at 35. And yet you're going to have the retirements of some of the bigger guys on the offensive side in Fisher, Schwartz, LDT. There's going to be some change there. And then it comes into the length of the term of Frank's number. And if they restructure again, which I think might be a year-to-year thing. Yeah. Tyron's under contract for a couple of years, and then you'll redo his deal. And I do believe that they will. So there's some bits and pieces you're going to have to fit those veterans in, and then you're going to have all the new blood. And I put a tweet out today. If you really want to get out of the game and you want to see the end of Patrick Mahomes' career, go scout junior high school games right now because those are the guys that will be catching the passes in 2029. It's going to be a piecemeal. It becomes more complex, but this does really allow you to switch out specialty players and defenders, knowing you have the rock in the middle, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Clark Hunt's going to be able to go into all these meetings and just kind of sit back and relax. He's got Patrick Mahomes for the next 12 years. We're talking about 10-year-olds. 10 years from now, are going to be catching passes from Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. 10-year-olds. This is insane. It's a baseball contract in the NFL. And obviously long-term success is very dependent on the quarterback nowadays, but the way that they've structured it, they've got room to move around. They got that money. I do believe, like you said, they're going to have that restructure or maybe just throw the contract out and redo it at 5 years to give them more flexibility. So they did this not only by themselves, but with Patrick Mahomes understanding that this helps the team out, still move money around and sign guys. So,
and that's a good point. I made it in the podcast, and I want to hit all the questions, folks. So I'm just going to say this real quickly. Patrick Mahomes went easy on him. Mm-hmm. This is a deal that helps the team. A lot of people are calling it team friendly, whatever you want to call it. It's a ton of money, yes, but this allows them to get other things done, and that's because of him. Chris Cabot, his agent, who works for Lee Steinberg and the Steinberg Agency. Who was on the show a couple of years ago, by the way. In fact, the week before the Chiefs drafted him, we talked to Lee, and he thought that this was a long-term fit at the time. So this has been building for quite a while. Testicular, you were born in 91, the year that I graduated high school. Well done. When Montana was on his last leg, when you look at the All-22 of Joe, what makes him better than Brady or Peyton? I'll tell you the one thing that it is for me, and Dan, you were too young to even watch him live, so I'm not asking you.
You won't. I was born 92, so I'm right there.
Here's the thing. He had an arm similar, in my opinion, to Brady, but he moved players around better, and they didn't have to conform to what he saw. He was able to ad-lib better, and he was able to take advantage of the defenses better, in my opinion. I think he's the greatest of all time, and I'm not even going to talk about Peyton. If I hear Omaha one more time, I'm done. Do you think the contract affects the rest of the team? Yes, it does, in that they all see who he is now. I mean, he's been the leader for a couple of seasons. In fact, I think it was it Tyron or was it somebody else who mentioned today about how they knew as soon as he started games that he was going to be the leader of this team. That doesn't change, but it does give you a little bit more of an air of legitimacy. This is a money game. This is a performance-based money game. Contract dollars equal respect. And I think that changes a little bit as new players come in, especially if they do acquire a veteran in a trade or free agency or whatever in the future. I think that just makes it a little bit more. How's the salary cap going to look after 2022? Okay, we got that one. Scott Vantel, how is it that most of the Chiefs' biggest stories seem to happen while you're on the air or shortly before you come on? I honestly don't know. I wish I did. I should go back and pull the Alex Smith thing.
I've got text messages. They always want to know what Ryan's doing. So I informed them, at least this time, of what's going on so that they could just release that information.
Right? Hey, it pays. I've been doing this a long time. I will tell you that. I do have a tendency to have an idea of some things that are happening before they do. But as far as being recording, especially a podcast that we sometimes do 2 hours before deadline, sometimes we do 20 hours before deadline. You never know. I just get lucky, Scott. That's all I know. And I'll take it that way. I'll live. Gary, how are you? And folks, if you can't get to Aaron, feel free to hit Jerry or Gary, and they can get my attention. I usually see those guys' names out of a hat anyway. With Mahomes' contract, will he be able to sign veterans in the future? Yes, but it's not going to be any more Frank deals. It's not going to be any $100 million players anymore. It's going to be smaller veterans on shorter deals. I will not be surprised personally if they take on the New England thing where you sign an aged veteran who either needs a break or needs to come back like Cam. And I think we might start seeing that at some of the skill positions, especially along the line as well. What do you think?
That and trying to acquire as many picks as they possibly can. That's going to be the two things they can do is get those veterans that you think still have some legs left, and then getting as many draft picks in the probably 3 to 7 rounds just to fill out those guys, because you're going to eventually hit on some of them anyway. The Patriots do it all the time. They turn late or third day draft picks into starters on the defensive line, offensive line, all those kind of things. So they're going to have to accumulate draft picks and make sure that they're scouting properly in order to continue this going the way that they're currently doing that.
Yeah, they've done a good job so far. I think they'll expand that, and I think it will become more important, but I think they're in good shape. Just want to say hi to 65 Toss Power Trap. How are you guys? Adam, what's the likelihood of a complete season? I put it at about 50-50 right now. And when I say complete, I mean that they'll get to the end of the season if they force it. If you're talking about playing 19 games, I put the odds at about 5%. What do you think, Dan?
I'm more that they're going to postpone the season if they're not going to be able to finish it right away. I think they'll postpone it. So I think that we could see a Super Bowl around May, April if they're eventually going to do that. So I'm still little more optimistic about them having a full complete season, just pushing those down the line.
I hope that they don't push that far. My kids compete in the spring and I travel a lot. So I need the season done when I can watch it.
Might not be.
Hey, stop it. Yeah, that's true. This is an interesting one, Nick. Do you think he deserves $503 million? Well, part of that, there's $25 million in incentives that he's got to earn. So call it $477. But the guy's been a season MVP, a Pro Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, and you got a Lombardi on the shelf now that hasn't happened since Len.
In 3 years, starting.
What he said. If he doesn't deserve it, there ain't nobody that does. I'll put it that way.
A lot of people are comparing it to the Aaron Rodgers thing, and it's not the same.
It's just not. It's cute, but it's not. How many Super Bowls does Patty Ice end up with when it's all said and done? I say tops 3. Really, Stu? That seems more pessimistic than I expected you to be. I'm going to say 5.
Yeah, I'm going 4 or 5. Just I know that it's not going to be. I think he'll be trying to get that 6th one near the twilight of his career, like Tom Brady has. But I think that in these next 10 years, he'll get 3 to 4 more. I could see that happening.
I can too. I mean, especially if he's focused on it. And
yeah, exactly.
Anything is going to help, it's going to be him. If you guys missed his video that he put out today, watch it to the end, because the last couple of frames say we're working on a dynasty, period. End of story. That says it all.
If you can say that Patrick Mahomes is a team guy and wants to win, this contract shows you that. Like, it shows you that he wants to stay here and win championships here. Like, it's what it is.
Yeah. This is a good one, Jacob. How important is it to accumulate draft picks? I think it's going to be critical. And here's the one in particular that I'm paying attention to. Yes, there'll be some trades and there'll be some other things. It's going to be about comp picks because salary room is going to necessitate you letting guys go. And you got to hope it is kind of a dice roll. You got to hope that those guys get in a situation where they play enough the following season to get you a 3rd round pick. That should be the goal every season, just to get a 3rd round comp pick.
Yep, I agree with that. Try to get some of your higher value guys traded, just because I get that everyone tries to do the Bill Belichick thing. You're not going to emulate it completely. For some reason, he's got this sixth sense about players. And
it's the dark side.
It's ridiculous. He obviously sold part of his soul with the devil to get these championships. So
I'm just going to say it now. Bill Belichick is Ray Skywalker's daddy. I'm just saying.
He's Palpatine, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, I skipped one. Odin,
Oh, no.
Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate the support. We make this thing go round on these things, so thank you very much. Life is wonderful. I think the deal helps keep Jones and others. I think you're right, and I hope you're right. The question for me is, are you keeping Jones
or the other
in a way that he wants to be productive, or is he just pissed off?
Yeah.
Maybe pissed off is good too, so maybe I shouldn't worry about
Yeah, I mean, you get him for this year pissed off, and then he earns that contract. I don't know, man. It's going to be – I get that we're all happy about the Patrick Mahomes thing, but a lot of fans are still kind of focused on Chris Jones, and I completely get that. He's a different defensive player, that just that talent that he's got. So I'm going to be interested to see what they do with him, because I love him, but I understand that it's probably less than 50% chance he's not with us past this year.
Yeah, it's tough. We're going to have to see. But I want to say this, Aaron made it. Good job, Aaron.
Yes.
Because I'm struggling, bro. I'm just saying. But Gary's here, and he's got a good question. Will Clyde Edwards, Elair, sorry, I got to start dropping the H. I'm not good at that Cajun thing. All I can do is eat the food in Cajun country.
Me too.
Will he be like Roger Craig of the 49ers? Great reference, by the way. 1,000 yards and 1,000 receiving yards. I'd love to say yes. I think he has the talent, but no. Andy Reid's never going to put 2,000 yards into one single running back. The position group might, but I don't think it's going to be one guy. And honestly, I think that's okay. I think that saves him touches. I think that helps his longevity. I think it's something that helps the team longer term. So believe me, I've been railing about running the ball more since Andy showed up in town, and nobody listens to me. And whenever I meet Coach face to face, I'm just going to ask him, can you give me 2 more runs a game? That's all I'm asking. We'll see. Justin, how are you? Oh, hold on a minute. Dan, say something nice to the people.
All right. This is really cool. I'm liking being able to do this with you guys. And I know that being able to see us once a week was one thing, but being able to do a live chat with you guys and answer your questions live is really cool for me. So I appreciate you guys being here.
And I appreciate Justin, because Justin sent me this.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I am not a big jersey guy.
Oh, man.
If there's one, I don't own one until now, Justin. Thank you very much. If there was one I was going to get, this was it. Probably followed by James Hasty, but that's just me. And I appreciate that very much. You will be framed and up, and you guys will see it in the background. Along with this job that came to the P.O. box recently. Hope you guys can see that.
That's fancy.
Just got to get that lit right. So that will become part of the set too, folks. And I appreciate all of you. But Justin, I'm glad you got back in the chat. Let's see. Next question. Michael Bauer. Does anyone know the structure of the deal? I showed you what little we know. That's not the final numbers, but I'll pull that back up because this is the cap now. This is what it looks like. Let me zoom out of that just one more touch. This is the general. And yeah, I had to zoom out because the thing is so long. So yeah, right. Okay. So here it is. And these are the cap numbers. This is what's important for the team. This is what he's getting paid. And just look at the base salaries. 825, $1 million, $1.5 million. For some strange reason, it bumps up in 2023 and then bumps back down. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then this is why I told you guys, not only is this number just unsustainable in a $60 million cap hit, but this is where the bases get crazy.
Yeah.
And so, yes, this is the biggest, fattest contract any NFL player, any North American athlete has ever signed. But it's really only a 5-year deal. This will get replaced. And that's perfectly fine. That doesn't mean anything negative. That just means it's going to go up.
They wanted to tell everybody that he was going to be here long term. And then they wanted to show, like, look, we're going to get him even more money later. Like,
yeah,
that's exactly what it was. We're not done. He's going to get more. We're going to make sure he's here, not just for the next 12, but for the next 15. Like, that's basically what they said.
Well, and that's a function of it too, because I mean, the player wants the benchmark, especially a guy like this, multiple MVPs all at once. He wants to set the benchmark, but the agents realize this is actually in their favor, because when they renegotiate in 2024, 2025, leading up to this last year, these numbers are all going to go up because the league will have caught up with this particular contract level. So yes, it's nice to say you have the biggest one in history, and it'll remain that for quite a while. I agree with you. But these numbers will actually increase for the player after they do another extension.
And Mahomes is only going to get better.
I know, it's scary. Thank you, Ligo. I appreciate it. I'm trying to hit everything, and I know I'm way behind in the chat, you guys. I'm coming. And Aaron, I'm glad you're here, dude. I hope everybody give Aaron a hand because he does the best that he can to get here all the time, and he keeps us straight. And man, I hope you're doing well. My thoughts are with you. And Robert Lane, I think Dan's right at the 4. I'm gonna take the over under 4 Super Bowl wins for Mahomes.
Total Super Bowl wins. Yeah. I'm gonna lean towards over. Just that's the fan in me leans towards over. That's what I'm gonna say. But I think 4 is a pretty solid place to put that at. So
I'm with you. A lot more questions about Jones. Yes, I think they're still gonna talk. They still want the guy back. They just want him at a number they can afford. And I think, this is a hard conversation to walk in tomorrow morning and call the Katz brothers, the agents for Chris Jones, and say, so we want Chris back, but we're pretty much out of money. So
they had to know this. They knew this was coming.
Well, here's the thing. Any deal that they do, anything at all, pretty much reduces his cap number now. They have $6 million remaining to sign the draft class, which they haven't done yet. And Chris is in at his tag number right now at 16.231, I think it is. So if they do anything like this, if it's a 3-year deal, like personally, if you want to give him 18 or 19 over 3 per 3, I can live with that. But the first year is going to be light because it has to be. And that's the way that the Chiefs are structuring their deals. I think that's smart of Veach. And is it Terry Bradway that does the negotiations? It's a great crew over there. And they're doing this specifically so that they have a way that they do deals. And agents know that when they come in to do negotiations. It helps pay off in the long run. Johnny, how are you? Who's the more important re-signing? Jones, Tyreek, Jones or Tyreek and Kelsey? This team's always going to take the offense. It's going to be Tyreek and Kelsey. They're going to feel particularly that they can get a more well-rounded pass rusher than Chris Jones at a quarter of the deal if they draft with their first-round pick next year. That's going to be their concept. I don't know if that's true. Chris Jones is an elite pass rusher. He's middling against the run, and I know a couple of you wanted to argue with me about that last week. I will throw stats at you all day long. Just take my word for it. Chris Jones is a middling run defender. That's all there is to it. Tell me I'm wrong, Dan.
No, I'd say he's a little above average, only because I think he got a little bit better. But yeah, he's not overly great against the run. But you can't make up for what he does in the pass rush. He's an elite pass rusher. So it's non-negotiable in my opinion. That's just what he is. The only guy better in the NFL at rushing from the 3 tech or in interior is Aaron Donald. Yeah, and it's not by that much.
I agree with you completely. And Deck Dog, you have a good point here. So does that mean that it's over? Yes, I think they're open to trades a little bit more than they were in terms of not having to get the same value. But I don't think that it's over. And I'm jokingly saying, hey, they can't go say they have a lot of money to spend. Yeah. But they can go back to him and say, listen, we've told you, and they have. Brett Veach has been honest since the day after the Super Bowl, saying that Patrick Mahomes was their priority. Okay, check mark, done. Mega deal, out of the way. They can go to Chris's people tomorrow and say, listen, we do want him back. This is our number. This is where we're at, 17.5 per annum. Let's talk. Let's see if we can negotiate. The problem is they've been on the back burner. They haven't been communicating because I believe now, knowing that this is here, this caught me by surprise. I thought this was a year out.
Yep.
But knowing how much work and how intricate this contract is, that tells me that this is what they've been concentrating on. So now they can go back and take another run at it. And I think maybe I do still feel there's a chance. They like the player enough to have him back. It's whether he's spurred now or not. So, and Jerry, you have a great question, and I want Dan's opinion on it first because I'm a little biased.
Oh, you're a little biased, huh?
How do you feel about the tight end too?
Oh, it's just as a whole, or like who we have slated as tight end too? Because I think that's.
Let's talk about the guys on the roster that might be filling that role.
All right, so I think that there are 2 clear-cut guys, and I know who you're biased towards because I also love John Lovett. But I think realistically, we're talking about Deion Gelder and Ricky Seals-Jones. Those are the two guys that are going to probably play in an interchanging tight end too. And it's clear that the Chiefs don't really care right now about a blocking aspect of their tight end too. Gelder is not a very good run blocker, and Ricky Seals-Jones isn't either. And I think that they saw last year in Blake Bell, who's limited receiving, very limited. And they like to have that aspect, especially in the red zone. We saw Demetrius Harris catch, I think it was 3 or something like that, like the year before. So they liked that receiving aspect and the threat in the red zone. So the idea of putting 2 tight ends on the field that Andy Reid loves, he uses it about 30% of the time, I think is roughly what it is. But that's still a big number for this offense specifically.
Yeah. 6th in the league, I believe, last year in 22 personnel or 21 personnel.
Yeah. So it's a big number, and Andy's always been that way. He likes having the ability to mismatch with that kind of thing. So I think that Ricky Seals-Jones is going to give them an upside in terms of downfield catching that Blake Bell didn't even come close to doing. And the off chance that Travis Kelce gets hurt, which I know isn't that high. He just doesn't get hurt that often. But if he were to, then we have a little bit of a more downfield catching aspect in Ricky Seals-Jones that can help replace some of that production if that were to happen.
I'm with you. And I will say this, just from your first comment, I actually think that there is fullback and there's tight end and there's John Lovett right in the middle. It's H-back, and I think it's going to be listed that way. Listen to me, Andy.
I get that. I just want to see him at tight end.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But see, I think the tight end too is fading away, like you said. They're not interested in blocking per se.
Correct.
I think Gelder made a little bit of progress that way, but I don't think they're looking for that. I actually think tight end 2 is becoming wide receiver 6.
Yeah, I can see that.
And honestly, if Kelce goes down, I want to see Seals-Jones out there. I want to see Jody Fortson out in that triangle formation out wide. Yes. I want to see all the big guys and throw that tight end screen they threw a couple of years ago and dare everybody to tackle him. Good luck.
I like Fortson a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and Jody said what he was on Locked On Chiefs with me a couple of years ago, just after he was drafted, that he knew it was going to take him some time. And you've seen him on social media, folks. He's making a lot of effort. He's actually got his helmet with him wherever he is training. I'm not sure, but I think that makes a big statement. Like, he's into it, and I like his body type. But again, it is more the wide receiver in a tight end body than a true tight end. So. With Gary's question, though, this comes back to who's going to win. What does this contract do for winning? And if he wins a couple more Super Bowls in 5 years, can Mahomes get out of his contract and ask for more money? And it's not that he has to get out of it. It's the team is likely going to want to get out of it because the amount of cap space that he chews up is going to go up drastically. I think everybody will be happy to renegotiate at that point. It's not like the clauses. By the way, there is a no trade clause that he put in here just to make sure. If anyone doubted that he was about staying in Kansas City, that ought to tell you right now. He wants to build something here. He doesn't want to go elsewhere. And I think that really says a lot. I think that's part of why this deal is a little bit more sweetheart than we thought it was going to be. KCK. Does the deal give us some wiggle room for the next 10 years, maybe 6? Maybe mixed in some bonuses that don't go against the cap. There aren't bonuses that don't go against the cap. That's the problem. What they did with that is adding in, $2.5 million per year in incentives.
Yeah.
So that's a way that he still gets paid if he does what he does. And I believe they are tied to AFC Championship games and regular season MVP titles. That's when he hits his bonuses. And just the fact that those are the 2 criteria to get bonused, that tells you a lot right there.
Man.
The team expects to be in the hunt, in the running of the top 4 teams in this league for a very long time with him at the helm.
Yeah, and I think he was like, okay, and kind of seeing it as a challenge. You want me to get the extra $25 million total? Let's go to the next 10 AFC Championship games. That's exactly what he's thinking, and that's why he's got paid like this, because that's how he's always thought. And I love it. Yeah,
I think it's great. Andy, you have a really good question. Having this largest contract in NFL history and the best quarterback in the league, how much bigger does this make the KC brand in the organization? And you're right that it is one of the smallest markets. And I put this out Was it on Locked On? I can't remember where I put it, but in the last, just since the Super Bowl, I've seen probably a 10-fold increase in listenership, viewership, either on the channel or on the podcast in Europe, particularly in Ireland, Scotland, and England, some in Germany as well. There's huge military bases in all those countries, so at least most of them. There's a big one in Scotland, isn't there? I know England and Germany. But I get emails from people at Ramstein. People listen around the world. There's Chiefs fans everywhere, and I think that that's only growing because, in fact, Brit Chief Brad from Arrowheads Abroad put on Twitter today that Pat Mahomes is trending in Euro Twitter.
That's so cool.
That means something. I mean, and to be at this point in this explosion of technology and the globalization of sport, Pat Mahomes is right at the front of it, and he's going to drag the Kansas City Chiefs along with him. So enjoy the ride. Say you were here first because you were. The bandwagon is going to get full, folks. I want to ask you this one. Would you trade Jones to the Cards and switch first-round picks to give the Chiefs their third and fourths? Is that a deal you'd be interested in?
Let's see. I'm trying to understand it. First, switch firsts, and the Cards give the Chiefs the third and the fourth. No.
Okay.
No. I personally would rather have Chris Jones. I think that they want to keep Chris Jones, and I think the next 3 years they can figure something out. But I think if we're looking at his value, DeForest Buckner garnered a full first round pick without switching or anything like that. So I think that his value after this year, if he can have another season similar to the production he's had the last two when he's on the field, you can get that and maybe a little bit more because he's a better player than DeForest Buckner is. So that's, I think, what we're looking at. And so I personally would say no to that.
I think I would too. The Chiefs are going to need more volume of picks. They're going to do the New England thing.
Yeah,
where they don't necessarily have to pick in the first round all the time. They're going to move back a lot, is my thought.
They should too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to help them. So that's where we're at. Good question here, Phil, and we're not going to get too deep into the cornerbacks because we want to keep it about Mahomes, but do you feel Fenton is an adequate replacement for Fuller? I personally do. I'm more worried about not having a shutdown corner on the outside, but I like Fenton's game, and I think he can do adequately in at the nickel. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him both inside and outside. His physicality that he brings to the position is definitely what they're looking for on the defensive side. And I think that he's probably going to see more time on the outside than the inside, especially to start the season with Breland out there. So that's exactly. Let's hope he's got experience in the system. And like I said, he plays physically. So I like that aspect.
Okay. And folks, if you missed it, I did a Fenton film review a couple of weeks ago. It's on the channel. Go check that out. Dylan Kruckman. Thanks, dude. Always a huge supporter, and I appreciate that. I know you have questions. You are really knowledgeable, but I know you have a question somewhere. Make sure I give you something for this, okay? We'll put Dan on the spot. Ask a question down below. Zombie, this is an interesting one. Njoku for a third. Oh, and a
third for Jones.
For Jones. I don't know. I don't want to see anybody play for John Dorsey.
No.
That's interesting. Okay. By the way, folks, Dan's microphone is over here on his screen. Adam, what do you got? This should be interesting. If a team has a forfeit or a game in this season and can the rest of the league continue as a schedule? Would they restructure some games? I don't think they'll restructure. If a team can't put a team on the field, I think it's going to be a forfeiture.
I have to skedaddle, you guys. My daughter is not having it tonight.
All right. Say hi for me.
I will. Have a good night, guys.
All right, bro. Thanks. I don't think that there's going to be a way to reschedule. It's too much shuffling, especially given how much they have to put into the medical protocols. And if you guys missed that, I retweeted some things that came out. I think that's going to be really important. So I think rescheduling is going to be really tough. I think we'll just see forfeitures, and they're just going to have to let it lie at that. If they don't sign Jones, is the defense going to be good enough? Phil, that's a good question. Jones has to play here. He doesn't have a choice. He can't play anywhere else. So they don't have to sign him. He's on the tag. His salary is already done. He has to decide whether he wants to play or not. If he chooses to sit out the year, they're going to have a more difficult time with the pass rush. It's going to require more linebacker blitzes. It's going to require possibly going out and getting another 3-tech pressure guy. You never know exactly how that'll work, but yeah, it's going to make things a little bit more hairy, but I don't think it's anything they can't overcome. Jerry, without a preseason this year, does QB2 Ta'amo see the field? I don't think he's QB2. I think he's QB3. I think he ends up on the practice squad, to tell you the truth. I think they like Henny. They want a veteran back there that can understand everything, see the whole field in case Mahomes has to take time off. Just like Matt Moore last year, they want a guy with a ton of experience. QB2 for Andy Reid needs to be experienced. I think that's where they're at. I think Ta'amu could be there eventually. I like him as an upside guy, but I think they're going to take some time with him, Jared. All right. Would you guys rather try to work something out with Jones or trade him at this point? I'm 50-50. I want a guy that's motivated and wants to be in town. If he doesn't want to be in town, I would trade him away. I have no way to gauge that myself, but I'm sure the team can. Gavin Snow, I think this is your first question. How are you? Do you think Mahomes and the Chiefs will do the Aaron Rodgers restructure every year when contracts come closer to his? Meaning they continue to make him the highest paid player. I do not think so. I think they set this up very specifically so they don't have to mess with it for a few years. 4 at the earliest, which would put it, what is that? Let me put this back up on the screen, you guys. Yeah, that's good enough. Earliest I would think that they have to redo is 2022. I think 2026 is when they're absolutely going to have to redo it. So I don't really see much. I think they want to set that in stone and let it be what it is and work everything else around it. Constantly redoing the top thing didn't end very well for the Cowboys. I think you saw the situation they got into. I think the Chiefs want to avoid that. And Pono, how are you? Aloha, buddy. How do we get a supporting cast around him? Top tier players are now out of the question. I wouldn't say out of the question, and it's really not 50 a year. What this is showing, and I'll blow this back up, is that his cap number is really 42 at the highest in the first 6 years of this extension. Now, that's a big number. Don't get me wrong, but it's not 50. And I think that $8 million, $9 million makes a big difference. So I'm pretty comfortable that they're going to be able to fit some talent around him, new talent that aren't on the team right now. And I think obviously in 2020, they're going to make a run with the guys that they have. They feel really good about it. So good question. I wouldn't be too worried if I were you. Let's see. Which years are the bonus spread over? What you can see here, and they do a good job showing this, is that you can only spread it a proration over the first 5 years of a contract. So you have here starting in 2020 and then ending in 2024. That's why things start to really creep up in terms of the bonus. The roster bonuses eating into the cap number and ending with a $50 million payout in 2027. So you got to get something done in 2026 or before. Is there any word on when teams will begin training camp? They are still set as of right now, as of tonight. And the owners met this afternoon. I'm sorry. Was it owners or GMs? Teams had a conference call, I believe it was GMs, this afternoon to go over protocols, how they're doing the medical stuff. And as of right now, they are still on track. So, hey, Maximo, thank you. And by on track, I mean that they are going to do the 28th as the report date. So that's where they're at right now. Hot and spicy. Do you expect us to start trading back and getting cheaper in drafts? Yes, that is what I expect. And I think, honestly, you can find comfort in that. I'd rather have right now, even in this last draft, I'd rather have 2 second rounders than a first rounder, to tell you the truth. At 32, that's basically a second round pick. I have no problem with them moving back. Geek on a Harley. I like that one. Will other team members resent him getting this big of a contract, even though he deserves it? No. Everything that I've heard is the leadership in that locker room are the ones that truly understand just how special he is. And everybody who is a backup special teams player, all that, they're riding his coattails in terms of nobody can win Super Bowls without a decent quarterback. You don't have to have an elite quarterback. There are ways around that, but you have to have a good one. I don't think anybody will resent this contract at all. From everything that I've heard, he is beloved in that locker room and seen as a leader, and no one cares about how young he is, and no one cares about how much money he makes. Jerry, by the time Mahomes' contract is up, will Andy be retired, and does EB take over as coach, or does Spags? I think Andy's got at least another 5 years in him. I think he might try to push it to the end of Mahomes' tenure. I don't know. But by then, EB will be a head coach, and I'm very much think that Spags will have another head coaching opportunity before then too. So I think both of those guys will be engaged elsewhere. So pay attention. Pay attention to the guys that are offensive assistants, quality control coaches right now. Those are the guys in the pipeline that are moving up the ranks, and that's how Andy works. So I think you're going to see some of that. Jerry, what's up with T Suggs? Is he going to be a Chief? No, I don't think he is. If he plays at all, and he was heavily contemplating retirement last year, if the Chiefs haven't claimed him, he would have retired. I think he will eventually sign a one-day deal and retire a Raven. Kelly Blevins, did I read that while last week that Mike Purnell retired? Mike Pennell is a Chief and is not retiring. I'm not sure who Purnell is. So no, I think you are all good, Kelly. Everything should be fine. Nate, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. And Maximo, that's what I meant before. What does it mean for the Chiefs if Jones sits out? It means it makes it harder to pass rush. It means more rep opportunities for Colin Saunders. And it means that they're going to use that rotation more heavily. Tano. Breland Speaks looks like he's in shape from what we saw on social media. We'll see if that's true, but he's going to be an option. Mike Dana has played inside, that draft pick that they really like. They rotated a bunch of guys into the interior defensive line to rush, even though they're defensive ends, because of this situation. I think they felt this coming and they prepared for it, and they're going to rotate guys and find whoever can get things done. Josh, Aaron, which of the contract would the $10 million bonus be added to? I'm not sure that was meant for me. Okay. Let's see. Who's next? Razorback Nation. What's up, Dwight? CJ, how are you? How well do you think Brett V and Andy have done? And do you think it's sustainable? I think they're doing really well. Now, a lot of it is obviously they've worked together for quite a long time. But I think what you've found is that Andy Reid he was comfortable with Brett before. I think he's supremely comfortable now. Brett Veach is very comfortable being aggressive as he is. I think Brett Veach is a chess player. I actually thought this deal would not get done this year. I thought it was going to be another year because they had the time if they wanted it. But by doing this now, it gets him out ahead of the curve where he's not overpaying. It's the exact opposite of what the Cowboys have done. And I think Brett Veach is going to be better off for it. And so is this team. David, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. Kansas Carolina, if the preseason is canceled, will training camp dates and or regular season start to change? I think so. What the NFLPA says is they don't want to play preseason games. I don't blame them, especially if it's a game that isn't worth anything for a veteran. I wouldn't play it either. But I do think if they outline everything in the protocol, it might delay some things. We might look at an October start date. I don't know. We're just going to have to play it by ear. The NFL thinks they have a handle on it, and we're just going to have to see if they do. Getting back to Maximo, are the Chiefs looking to have a second tight end as explosive like Kelsey? There aren't many, but that's what they're thinking in terms of if Kelsey can't play, we want a guy that can get down the field. That's why they got Ricky Seals-Jones, because he's more of a wide receiver than he is a tight end. He's gained some weight. He's gotten a bit stronger, so he can line up in line if he has to, but he really is a split out slot to the outside wide receiver like he was in college. And I think that's really becoming the hybrid spot right now. I think they're going to be perfectly fine with that. Daniel, do you agree? I say all the time, greatest 7 out of 7 Super Bowls. Whew, that'd be interesting. I'd love to see 7 Super Bowls. Hot and spicy. Is Ricky Seals is being underlooked? He is very underrated and he can bring a team to the new season. He definitely can. And quite frankly, if you could take Demetrius Harris and make him a functional football player, I don't see why you can take a guy who is a functional football player and make him good. That's how I see him. So I'm totally with you there. Jacob LaRue, tonight, the mythical, the one, the only that I can't seem to get into the right focus until it hits my face. There we go. Now it's in focus. From Boulevard, Tank 7, one of my favorites. My favorite thing, I come into Kansas City, I get off the airplane, I go to Jack Stack, I get burn ends, and I get a Tank 7. That is my process. Does it make us favorites for the early season games? Definitely, Carolina, and honestly, it makes them a favorite for the whole season. I don't know if Vegas agrees, but they have the best odds of winning the Super Bowl, in my opinion, period. Chris Smith, Rashad Fenton. I heard you say that you see him more as an outside corner. Just curious what specifically makes you think that it would be better for him in there since we need a slot. Yes, we need a slot, but here's the thing. Keenan Allen ran away from him in the slot. Kendrick Bourne, why can't I remember his name? The other guy for the wide receivers ran away from him in the slot because he's got decent speed, but his change of direction is a little bit below average. And if he has the sideline to use where he can run a guy into the sideline and use that as help, that definitely helps a guy that is challenged deep. That's why Bashaud Breeland does that, because Bashaud Breeland is challenged deep. He doesn't have the long speed, but he uses the sideline well. And that's really important when you're trying to play straight up man, you know? And I think that's what they want to do more. I think they're going to have to play zone, but I think they want to play more man. Phil, do you think the priorities for the next few drafts should be the offensive and defensive lines? I think they're going to have to be, but I think you still need to address the corner. I'm still not happy with the corner position. The team seems to be, though, so I could be wrong. Where can the Super Bowl 54 champions be signed, be ordered? I will have to look that up. It is a guy, I believe, somewhere in northern Missouri that makes him in his house. He's a CNC guy. I will find that and I will try to put it in a post on the community tab. So if you guys have those notifications on, you should be able to see it. I'll try to find that, Cole. Which RB would you like as a starter in the 2020 season? Right now, I'm fine with Damian starting. I think in 2021, I think it needs to be Clyde. And in the meantime, I'm appreciative of his share right there. I want to keep some touches off of Clyde until he makes the adjustment myself. How much will Colin Saunders grow from year 1 to year 2? That's the big question. Normally, I would say quite a bit, but he hasn't had any OTAs. He hasn't had any in-person coaching. I think that's difficult. So if Chris Jones does sit out or they can't come to an agreement and he doesn't show up for camp, I think Colin Saunders is the big winner because I think he gets a lot of reps, and I think that helps him make up for the offseason that he hasn't had. Travis, what does it mean for Stone Cold Jones? It means maybe. It means maybe he relaxes a little bit. I don't know. Jerry, if we pay to keep T. Sizzle half the money that Jones wants, let Jones walk and move the Chiefs are the consider. I don't think that they are. I don't think that Terrell Suggs wants to play. I'm really, really feeling like he doesn't. And if he does, I think he just wants to sit behind somebody in Baltimore, get with Lamar, and be able to rush when they really need him. Do you believe Frank Clark? Believe him that he's healthier? Yes. Helping Taco get much better. Yeah, I think he will help Taco get better. I really, really do. He was a mentor for Taco at Michigan. I think they have a personal relationship that can push that. And I do feel good about that. And do you like Willie Gay for this defense? Definitely. Beyond Isaiah Simmons, he was the number one guy for a nickel playing defense, which is the Chiefs defense. So I don't like playing nickel that much, but hey, that's me. But yes, for what they're doing, he's a great fit. Anthony Bowles, is there a chance that David Njoku comes to town? If he gets released, yes. I don't think they'll trade for him. Same question. Okay, cool. Carlos, when will Hyde start? He'll start some games this year. Damian will get hurt. He always does. I just don't know when. And it won't be like, hey, Clyde's our starter now. It'll be he's starting these games. I think that's what I see coming. Yeah, hot and spicy. I'm still not going to take that one. Sorry, I clicked it again. I couldn't resist. Aaron, predictions for Mahomes TD passes. I'm going with 42 this season. I'll take the under. I'll go 40. And I will say 5,000 yards, though. David, thank you again. Second one for tonight. I told you 2 seasons ago home was great, and now he's paid 2. And you were absolutely right. I was a little bit cautious. You were on him from the start, and I appreciate that. Let's see. Who else? Hot and spicy. Do you think that Chad Henne is good enough to be a QB2? I do. I think he fits what Andy wants. And much like Moore, if you understand the system, an older guy who doesn't scramble and ad-lib like Mahomes can still be very effective. So I think it's more the mental side. It does shift things, but I do think it can be there. Lamar, will K-Pass be the Jones replacement? He'll definitely get a stab at it. I think it'll be more of a rotation. But yes, he will play inside on passing downs, and you got to hope that he takes another step forward. He had an impressive change of direction last year. If he can improve on that, I think he can be good. Got that one. Dylan, if Jones sits out, how much time does Saunders get? He becomes the designated pass rusher. Mike Piniella is still not going to become the third down defensive tackle. It will be Colin Saunders. And that's what he does best. Colin had to learn to play the run. He had to learn to anchor better. And he did that. But he is a natural pass rusher. That's what he did in college. He will be just fine in that role. And I'm actually kind of excited to see him do that. Let's see. Jeremy Jones, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it. Does Spags typically use edges for pass rush and run stop from nose to tackle? I don't see spending $20 million on a DT. Here's the thing. Spags is evolving too, just like the league. And he wants big guys across the front. They can collapse a pocket and speed rush. That's what Jones does best. He's an explosive speed rusher, and he's strong enough too. I don't think that they want the ends that have to be the elite guys. They want guys that can do everything. They want power rushers, and the key is they have to get productive with 4 pass rushers. That's what Spags wants, and I don't blame him. That's what I would want too. Oh, Lamar. Okay. Yep. Okay, I got that one. I'm catching up, you guys. I'm catching up. Phil, do we have enough speed in the secondary to keep up with all these speedsters? No, we don't. Breland, Fenton, they're not there. Snead is. Bo Peep Keys is not. It's gonna be up to Ward and Snead to keep up with the speed. Jason Meyer, smart move extending him after the 5th-year option. Doesn't free up more space to sign Jones, being that Watkins will probably walk next year. It does free up a little bit more in terms of longevity, but anything that you do with Jones will reduce Jones' number right now because he's on the tag. So that's not much of a deal. Hey, Chris, how are you? How are your top 3 coaches in the league, and who would sell their souls to take Andy's place if he retires to coach Patrick? Sean Payton would like to coach Patrick Mahomes. I'm just telling you. Sean Payton sees even more than what he saw in Drew Brees. And Drew's on his last legs. He's just about done. I think he had a serious contemplative moment about even playing this coming season. And I think Sean Payton would love to do that. I think John Gruden would love to play with Mahomes. If you saw his QB corner before Mahomes was drafted, he loves him some Mahomes. So those are the 2 guys that I would say. I don't know about a third. Probably McMinney. I don't know. It is what it is. Oh, wait. Sorry. JJ, how do you feel about Saunders' progression this year? I thought it was good. I'm disappointed he didn't have the offseason, but I think he'll continue. It'll just be a little bit delayed. If we get no production, do we move on from Speaks after this year? Yes, I think they do. What do you think about Mahomes and his big Chungus battle? I'm not sure what Chungus is, so I'm going to skip that one. Why did David Woodward go undrafted? Honestly, speed. It's just not enough. His take on was okay. His instincts were okay. I just don't think that he could really play in the pass game, particularly for the Chiefs. That's why they weren't interested. How did we miss the Patriots hitting on Cam Newton for $1 million? Oh, the Chiefs missed it because Patriots are the only team that were interested. From everybody that I've talked to, there was nobody else interested. There's maybe one other team that had a feeler out, but there just wasn't a market for Cam. That's why he took the deal that he did. And the Patriots do that. They will take veterans that are at the end and try to rehab them. It's what they do. I just don't think it's the game that the Chiefs want to play. They're trying to get younger, not older. Yep. Appreciate that, Aaron. You're the man. Nate Matthews, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it. Do you think that if they don't have fans, they make football pay-per-view? I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is they've already talked about covering the first 20 rows with like tarps, kind of like you see in soccer stadiums where everything's got a logo all over it. I think you're going to see that across the whole stadium. The whole lower tier will have logos on tarps or something that covers it so that even when they're doing wide shots of the field, corporations can have their logo on the screen. That will increase sales in terms of advertising dollars. I think that's how they're going to try to make up the difference. Let's see. Joe, I'm sure you're aware no team has ever won a Super Bowl with a QB over 13% of the cap. Very true. And the average has been around 8. Should this be a concern? Of course it should. I will also say this. No other team's ever had Patrick Mahomes. So I'd be interested to see if he can break that mold. That's going to be the test. But you're absolutely right. That has been the historical point of view. Where did that one go that I just saw? I think it was Harry. Yep. And that's what I meant McMinney before. Josh McDaniels is the guy I was talking about. I always forget his last name, and I just call him McMinney from when he was here in Denver. But Harry's got a good point. That is going to be an intriguing thing. And if you missed what I said on some of the radio appearance I did pre-draft, is I said Jalen Hurts would be great in New England because he gives them a scrambling quarterback option. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do for Cam. So they may have even worked up some things to try to get a scrambling quarterback, and now they'll just apply it to Cam, so long as he's healthy and he can run. Infopocalypse, I'm glad you made it, though. Do you see a plan as far as a huge spike in past 2027? Yeah, they'll renegotiate, and that will be a fresh deal, fresh extension before then. All right, I know we're way over, folks. 400 of you tonight. I just noticed that. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to hit the last couple of questions, and I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I will have something for you tomorrow. It's not going to be the rumor that I was going to do, I don't think. And we will also have film review later that Dan has completed on Tyreek Hill. I have a bunch of stuff coming. Everything Chiefs will be here this whole offseason. And I've got a couple new places that we're going to flesh out here pretty soon. So a lot of things in the works, and I will let you guys know as soon as I can. Last couple of questions. Maximo, how many draft picks is Chris Jones worth if traded? At least 2, because I don't think he's going to get a first-round pick. So I would say a second and a third, second and a fourth, something like that. Adam Daughtry, thank you for yours. Suggestions for Tommy Johns. I'm not sure what that is. It sounds familiar, but I can't remember. Thank you. And thank you all. Those are the last 2 questions I saw. So I appreciate it. Thanks to Dan for joining. Thank everyone for the super chats. I have more videos coming for you tomorrow and the next day. Keep that up. Oh, Drummer Dude, you just had one. You always felt that Andy Reid coach teams seem to have a preparedness advantage in week 1. Do you think having a shortened offseason will affect their relative level of preparedness in any way? I think they will definitely not be as prepared as they normally will, but relatively, like you said, I think they have even more of an advantage now because of the way that he coaches and the way that they will be prepared, and the fact that they're returning so many guys they're going to start. So, Aaron, I'm glad you made it. Thank you all for your questions and all of the donations. I really do appreciate it. That got some great stuff. Check out the Teespring store for more, and I'll see you guys in the next video.